Here's a question that I find relatable. Have you ever left a party and then thought the next morning, ooh, I wish I hadn't said that? Well, trust me, it's okay, because at least you didn't wind up like Loki, the great trickster god of Norse mythology. Because after one particularly dramatic party, the gods stripped him naked, strapped him to rocks with the entrails of his own son, had a serpent dribble acidic venom onto his head that caused him to shake so much the actual earth quaked, and left him there to suffer in that gruesome prison until the end times. Yeah, his family did that to him. But why, you ask? What extreme party foul did Loki commit to warrant such an awful punishment? Had he committed arson, murder, microwaving fish in the Asgardian break room? Nope. Even worse. He was really annoying. Thanks so much to Brilliant for continuing to support our passion for lifelong learning. Loki, son of a goddess and a giant, was the most cunning of the Norse gods. Seriously, no one could wheel and deal like this guy, and if he was on your side, he could be very generous. For instance, one day he might show up at your house with a hoard of gold, just for you. Or maybe he'd give you a cool handmade bag. Ooh, what kind of leather is this? Or maybe he'd help you find your missing hammer, like he did in this previous tale we told. But truthfully, it was usually better not to ask where that stuff came from. Like the 8-legged horse he gave birth to? Yeah, you don't really want the details of those sort of things. Also, having Loki on your side did come with a pretty big drawback. Namely, him. Sometimes his schemes would go wrong, like that time he betrothed Freya, most beautiful of the gods, to a common builder without her permission. He also didn't take criticism very well. In fact, if a god upset him, or if he even heard praise for someone else when it could have been praise for him, then all of a sudden, Loki's not making you any more cool human skin bags. Instead, he's doing stuff like tricking Baldur's blind brother into murdering him and applauding his own cleverness as he does it. Of course, all of this acting out did have to catch up with Loki eventually, and it totally did one night, when of course, everyone was drunk. It was at a great feast, thrown for the gods by the ale-loving giant, Aegir, attended by his two servants, Fyrmafing and Eldir. Oh, and all the gods came. Well, except Thor, which honestly was great news for the jealous Loki, who wouldn't have to endure the God of Thunder's boasting of his exploits, or in turn hear those exploits be praised by others. Loki could just sit back and enjoy himself, Fyrmafing and Eldir would see to that. A little too well, actually. In fact, it was such a banger that the gods had to give it up for the servants who went above and beyond, making it all possible. 3 cheers for Fyrmafing and Eldir! Loki could not believe what he was hearing. Praise. For servants? Ugh. Especially when clever Loki was sitting right there. That is unbelievably messed up. That could not continue. Nope. So he stood up, called the servant Fyrmafing over, and killed him. Loki! Cried the gods. That was so rude! You get out now! So, breaching dinner party etiquette by murking a dude, Loki was sent to sulk outside. But he did keep one ear to the door. Once the feast was back in full swing, he could hear them singing and laughing. Wait, what were they talking about? Were they talking about him? Then when Eldir came out to dump the trash, and maybe Fyrmafing's remains, Loki grabbed him and demanded to know what the gods were saying. Eldir said they were boasting about their might in war and just having a great time doing it. A great time. Without Loki? Well, he'd put a stop to that. So he threw back the doors to the great hall and stood, chest puffed and proud, in the entrance. Immediately, all the gods fell silent. He then declared that he would not be thrown out of the feast. By the laws of hospitality, he demanded to be seated immediately and served a mug of ale. Ha! Nobody replied, though. I'm waiting, he cried. The service here is terrible. Brae, the god of poetry, was the only one who dared speak. You are not welcome, he said. It was then that Loki appealed to mighty Odin, invoking their ancient vow that the two of them should always drink together. And grudgingly, Odin asked that a seat and a drink be found for Loki, thinking it was the only way to stop him from making a scene. Then Loki graciously raised his mug and toasted all of the gods, but with a pointed exception for Brae, whose words he had just found so hurtful. Brae sighed, and by way of apology offered Loki some gifts. A horse, a sword, a ring, whatever Loki wanted, if only he would just calm down, I'm sorry, calm down? Calm down! Oh, hell no. Loki was gonna do the opposite. Loki was gonna angry up. He shouted that Brahe was a coward, the shyest and the least brave of all the gods. Brahe then replied that while he would not fight Loki in the host's hall, if they were at home, things would be very different. It was at this point that his wife Idun tried to talk her husband down, but then Loki turned on her, revealing her darkest secret. Idun had lain with her own brother's murderer! The whole hall gasped in outrage. Then Jivia, goddess of plowing, rose to ask why Loki had to spoil the night with his hate. And in response, Loki merely laughed and told everyone the story of how she had lost her virginity. How did he even know that? Because he was Loki, that's why he made it his business to know everything. Oh, and all the secrets were coming out now. Odin stood up and shamed Loki for working 8 years as a milkmaid. A woman's job, he said. Loki, in turn, revealed that Odin used to dress up as a witch, so, Stop, said Odin's wife Frigg. Whatever you two have done in the past, let it lay there. Well, why don't you go lay with your husband's brothers? Laughed Loki. Again. If my son Baldur was still alive, said Frigg, he'd kill you for speaking to me in this way. Oh, the irony. Sweet, delicious irony. Loki could not resist it anymore. Well, he's not alive, he cried triumphant, because I'm the one who killed your son! It was true. Loki had contrived to murder Baldur. And why? Well, the same reason he took out the servant. Baldur was getting a lot of praise, and Loki didn't like it. But as shocking as that was, the adrenaline in the room was so high that nobody took much notice of that remark. Loki then went on, exposing every secret the gods held dear. The goddess Freya, he said, had slept with everyone in the hall, including her brother. Njordr had 2 children with his own sister, and Loki slept with his wife, as well as Sif, the bride of the mighty Thor, who himself had chosen that very moment to join the feast. But it mattered not. Loki wasted no time in relaying an embarrassing story about Thor trying to beat up a giant who didn't even feel it. Then Thor said if Loki kept this up, he'd knock his head off with a hammer. And then Loki looked down and mumbled, okay, yeah, sorry, Thor, my bad. He left the hall, but not before one last taunt to the gods. He said that he was leaving because Thor was the only one of them that could actually take him in a fight, so later, losers. Then he was gone, and the gods exhaled in relief. They refilled their cups, took deep swigs, and then Frigg cried, wait, he said what about murdering my son? That demanded some kind of reprisal. But if they punished Loki, a god, wouldn't they be setting a dangerous precedent? I mean, all the gods had done some pretty gnarly things in their time. And hadn't they just heard about how like half a dozen of them had committed incest? Were they themselves so blameless? A compelling argument. But then there was the counterpoint to consider. Loki was a pain in the ass and he sucked. That dude was getting bound up by his son's entrails for sure. Get a toxic snake to drool in his head? Absolutely. Truly the easiest decision the gods ever made. And so, that's how clever Loki spent the rest of his days until Ragnarok rent the world asunder. Mad with grief over his son, writhing in exquisite pain, ravaged by the elements. But I bet the whole time, in the back of his mind, he was thinking one thing. Best party ever. Now, Loki's fateful ending just goes to show you, no matter how clever you think you are, there is always room for improvement. And serendipitously, this is exactly where our friends at Brilliant can help you out. Something I absolutely love about this community is that so many of you are passionate lifelong learners like me. But then again, if you are also like me, you know how hard it is to find that time to better your brain. Luckily though, Brilliant was built for busy people, with bite-sized lessons from a whole catalog of courses in science, mathematics, and engineering that let you gradually master topics in around 15 minutes a day, starting you at the perfect skill level for you, and then tracking your progress as you go. And because Brilliant is interactive and, not gonna lie, actually a pretty good time to use, the information I learned, get this, sticks with me. I know, it's crazy. Case in point, since a larger and larger part of my job is making sense of the data in our YouTube channel's backend, I just finished their lesson in data analysis fundamentals, which was not only super helpful, but something I never thought I would say when I first became a cartoon on the internet. Whereas our studio director, Jeff, tells me he just tore through their courses on artificial neural networks, because as Mugatu once so eloquently said, that AI is so hot right now. So if you are a curious learner just getting started, or a seasoned pro that knows continual learning is essential for career success, you really should check out Brilliant for yourself at brilliant.org/extra credits and sign up to try everything Brilliant has to offer for a full 30 days, absolutely free. And then if you like it as much as I do, the first 200 people that use our link will get 20% off when signing up for an annual premium subscription, which bonus helps our channel make the shows like the one you just watched possible. And that sounds pretty brilliant to me. I'm sorry, that was too much. I knew it the moment I said it. Still, please check out Brilliant. It's really awesome. Say, did you ever hear the one about Skylar Holmes, Kuya Koi, Joseph Blame, Dominic Valenciana, Casey Muscha, Arclight Games, Angela Valenciana, and Ahmad Ziad Turk being fantastic legendary patrons? Because I sure did.